The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time changed everything. It took nearly every beloved aspect of the previous games and rebuilt it in 3D. The game's influence cannot be overstated, and to this day, it remains one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time and is the highest-selling entry of the Zelda franchise. How then would Nintendo follow up such a monumental feat? Originally, the company's intentions were less than ambitious. In May of 1999, Famitsu reported on a Zelda title for the upcoming 64DD, a disk-drive peripheral for the Nintendo 64. The project was tentatively titled Ura Zelda, or Another Zelda. Ura Zelda went on to become what was known in North America as Master Quest, a remixed version of Ocarina of Time featuring different dungeon layouts and enemy placements. Yet, according to rumors, not everyone responsible for the development of Ura Zelda was content with simply modifying an existing game. Chief among the dissenters was Eiji Aonuma, who served as a designer on Ocarina of Time. As a response to the complaints, Miyamoto challenged the team to make an entirely new Zelda within 1 year. Aonuma earnestly accepted the challenge and served as the game's director, along with Yoshiaki Koizumi, who previously worked on Ocarina of Time, Link's Awakening, and A Link to the Past. The project became Zelda Gaiden, and then eventually transformed into Majora's Mask. In order to hit the 1-year deadline, the team generously reused many of the assets from Ocarina of Time, including items, objects, characters, and more. Despite the recycling, Majora's Mask is drastically different than its predecessor. Whereas Ocarina of Time is a grand fantasy adventure in the classical sense, a chosen hero fights against a power-hungry villain, Majora's Mask is alien and insular. Although Link is still a hero and there's still evil to triumph against, that struggle feels less compelling than the bizarre, intricate, and truly alive world of Termina and its inhabitants. What ties everything together is a system known as the 3-day cycle. Whereas some of the previous games play with contrasting dual worlds, such as the Light World and Dark World in A Link to the Past, Majora's Mask strives for something much more involved. The residents of Clock Town, the game's central location, have specific schedules that operate independently of the player. While there is some predictability to the system, shops will generally open and close at the same time, for example, it mainly feeds into creating a larger, believable world that thrives on deeply personal stories. What makes these stories so gripping is the ever-looming threat they're all bound to. At the end of the 3rd day, the moon will crash into Termina, destroying the land and all that live there. It's up to Link to find a way to prevent this catastrophe. Thankfully, the Ocarina of Time, an item first encountered in the last game, gives him some control over his fate. By playing various songs, he can slow time, fast forward, or rewind to the beginning of the cycle. That's more often a curse than a blessing, however. Many of the good deeds, triumphant victories, or friends made are reset when Link rewinds the clock. As a result, you end up reliving the same tragedies again and again. The longest, most involved side quest has you reuniting a torn-apart couple, Anju and Kafei. Skull Kid, the antagonist of the game, transforms Kafei into a child, causing him to shamefully run away from his fiancée and hide his face. By completing very specific tasks during each of the 3 days, you can give them the strength to reunite and embrace their love in one of the game's most touching scenes. Although the rewards earned during the quest don't reset when you rewind time, Anju and Kafei become separated once again. Seeing a masked Kafei skulk around town just after you witnessed his happiest point is a distressing moment. Majora's Mask constantly and intentionally evokes a strong feeling of helplessness. As a player, you're determined to somehow finally put an end to everyone's suffering, all of which becomes so intimately familiar. The only way to do so is by conquering the temples located at the northern, southern, eastern, and western points of Termina. In each temple, a spirit of one of 4 giants is trapped. These giants function as the protectors of Termina, and are the only ones who can stop the moon from crashing. Evil present within the temples negatively affects the lands around them, turning the waters of the southern swamp poisonous, trapping the Gorons in a perpetual winter, raising the Great Bay's water temperature to inhospitably warm levels, and overrunning Ikana Canyon with the undead. As with any Zelda, items acquired within dungeons are necessary to complete them. Even with familiar elements in place, the dungeons feel different than any Zelda before or since because of 3 special masks. Throughout the journey, Link acquires Deku Scrub, Goron, and Zora masks, which transform him into those respective races. All of them are vital in overcoming the 4 dungeons, since many puzzles can only be completed in a specific form. As a Deku Scrub, he can hop across water, perform a ballet-like spinning attack, and use special flowers to shoot into the sky. Goron Link is an absolute brute with his fiery punches, ground pounds, and the ability to roll anywhere as a spiky ball. Ocarina of Time may have given the world Epona, but nothing is quite like rolling across Termina Field as a Goron. The sheer speed and almost out-of-control nature of the rolling makes it thrilling each and every time. Nimbly swimming across the Great Bay as a Zora is equally exhilarating. It's so enjoyable, in fact, that it's easy to forget about your goal and just get swept up in doing repeated dolphin dives. Link is also quite the capable fighter as a Zora, able to use his shoulder blades as melee weapons and his detachable boomerangs. Additionally, he can electrify himself underwater, wreaking havoc on anything caught in the unfortunate path. Zelda has dabbled in transformations before, but those instances can hardly compare to the complex integration found in Majora's Mask. Perhaps even more impressive is that the masks go beyond adding variety to the tried-and-true format. They're deeply woven into the game's narrative. The Zora mask, for instance, actually holds the essence of Mikau, guitarist of the band the Indiegogo's. Mikau tries to sneak into a den of pirates to recover the stolen eggs of Lulu, the singer of the group. When Link encounters Mikau, he's washed up on the Great Bay shore and mortally wounded. With his last breath, he urges Link to heal his soul and accomplish what he could not. Although it's never explicitly stated, the game strongly implies that Mikau and Lulu were romantically involved, and that Mikau may even be the father of the eggs. The story of Mikau exemplifies the game's core themes of loss, failure, and redemption. It also makes the mask more meaningful than anything found in a chest, once again demonstrating the commitment to a personal tone. Mikau and many other similar characters manage to ground Majora's Mask despite all of the weirdness enveloping it, such as a middle-aged fairy wannabe, a moon with a menacing face, and a pale, dancing man in purple underwear. For all of the game's strengths, detractors complain about the sparse number of dungeons, a mere 4 compared to the 9 found in Ocarina of Time. While this could likely be attributed to the intense 1-year development cycle, it also seems like dungeons are intentionally less emphasized. More than any game in the series, Majora's Mask is flooded with optional content, helping a ranch girl defend cows from aliens, curing a father's horrible illness, and giving a disgusting, disembodied hand some toilet paper are just a few of the available activities. Each stands out for one reason or another and further invests you in the world. These people aren't merely shopkeepers or quest givers, but rather human beings that demonstrate fear, longing, and regret. No Zelda game has an ancillary cast that feels so utterly vital. Even with all of the things you can get involved in, the game is surprisingly focused. The moon, which can be seen from almost anywhere in Termina, gets closer with each passing hour. At midnight, on the final day, the normally bustling clock town is almost completely abandoned, and the jovial music replaced with a swelling, ominous track. The looming threat of total annihilation makes every action more stressful, yet also creates a sense of immediacy rarely present in games. For once, saving the world is imperative, rather than a mere task to be completed at the earliest convenience. Zelda is often criticized for following convention too closely, but few sequels are as different or ambitious as Majora's Mask. Its story, structure, and tone are not only unique to the series, but any other game as well. Ocarina of Time may always hog the spotlight, and in many ways rightfully so, but we'll always hold out hope that another entry can craft a place as meaningful to us as Termina.